And we are live. All right, this is MAAT HOTEP. I have Brad Chapman here, vocal pre-producer. I'm going to have him explain what that means. Deborah, unmute yourself real quick. Is it Magone or Magone?
Depends on where you're from. From New York, it's Magone. But Italy, it's Magone. So you.
All right, we have Deborah Magone.
Thank you, Brad.
We have Urban, who is Hugh, Pensado students, and we have Ben Kramer. No, Crames. Crames, right?
Yeah.
Doing this all from memory, bro, and have a horrible memory, getting old. All right, Brad, tell us what vocal pre-production is. You there, Brad? I see him cheesing, but I don't hear him. Okay. Unmute yourself, Brad. While he's he's got technical issues all of a sudden. Deborah, tell us about what you've gone through in these last, what is it, how many years with Brad?
With Brad, it's just been a few years, maybe 2.
Okay. Tell us about your history, you know, what, like you and Brad were talking right before we started. He asked you to explain something. Hit us with that.
Okay, he asked me about the last 10 years. I'm an older woman, so it's, it's been a long journey, but the last 10 years I started realizing that I had to work on my confidence as not only as a performer, but as a band leader and a music business owner. So I worked a lot on that, and during that I had gigs started expanding, larger gigs, larger audiences. I ended up with some nodes on my throat, and I found Brad Chapman on Grammy 365. So we became friends, and we started with some vocal therapy, and I've been with him ever since. It's been a great journey with Brad also. And so now I have a 3-piece power trio. We play rock and blues rock, but I also do acoustic blues, and I could do pretty much anything. But now I pick and choose where I want to work and what I want to do. And the team is expanding, and my capabilities are expanding as a vocalist because of studying with Brad. I've been flown out to LA a few times in the past 6 months especially, and one album that I was working on, I had to record 9 songs in 1 day to lay down the basic tracks, and it was a rock CD with some pretty heavy-duty highs and lows, and I was able to make it through that day and just rock on, the next day with no problem because of working with Brad the last few years.
You see how I just kept silent right there? You said,
I got you.
Okay, what has Brad been doing with you? What actually has he been doing? What stuff has he been doing with you that's been working for you?
The really important thing for me was keeping my larynx down, and his particular exercises that he does and has taught me have really helped.
Hello. We hear you, Brad. Brad, we have a chat box to the right. Type it in there. We'll let you know. Like, if you look over there, we'll let you know we hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm not going to touch a thing. No mute miking or anything, because it'll just like
screw you up.
I don't know what'll happen.
Okay.
Yeah, right. But there's nothing going on behind me. There's nothing happening here. So we're in my dead studio. So no worries.
Okay. All
okay.
Right.
So
hold on, Brad. Hold on, Brad. Deborah, go ahead. Keep going, Deborah. Finish up real quick.
So it was very huge, keeping my larynx down. The particular things that Brad has been doing with me have just clicked for me and helped a great deal.
Keeping your larynx down. Why did he have you do that?
I would get tense and squeeze and, just not know how to control it very well. And the exercises that he's been showing me and working with me on have made it so much easier to work on them and then not have to worry about it during a live performance, because there's a lot of stressors, as you all know, and us artists are easily affected.
Okay, Brad, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, did you want me to finish what a vocal pre-producer is?
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll come back. Yeah, we'll have to come back to it because we're into this thought.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so this is the number 1 problem for singers. The word is called high note, and it's not just stress. That's definitely part of it. You know, Deborah's very well educated in all this, because like me, she's been through it all. She's had these habits that interfere with our ability to get our emotions through, or sometimes even just our pitch. But what it is the word high note has, at a very subconscious level, and this is true for 99.9% of singers, is that they think that high notes are somehow on a vertical, and that low notes are the other direction on a vertical. And this is just not the case. Music doesn't work that way. I always like to make a funny saying, well, my piano would have to be turned on its side so that when my right hand went up, my hand would be going up the keyboard, my left hand went down, it would be going down the keyboard. So music has nothing to do with up or down. What it does have to do with is written music. So how many centuries ago, when they decided to write music, they decided to put on the staff the notes, what they call the pitch, high or low. And the rhythm, they just went from left to right. Now, if that had never happened, most of us wouldn't have this problem. The larynx being right here, you all can put your fingers right there if you want. Actually, the easiest way is take your finger and kind of slide it back down to your larynx. Right, that little knob right there, and then swallow. And you'll feel that little lump go up. Now, when we swallow, that's perfect. Otherwise, we'd end up with food and water and anything else in our lungs. That would not be cool. But when the larynx goes up during the singing process, it's very similar to, like, you're watching this poor horn player, and, you know, he's got the horn in his hands, and he's got his mouth up to the mouthpiece. So imagine that's your vocal cords right there. And the bell of the horn is the top of your larynx, so imagine that. And as you're playing the horn, the bell is closing. So as you play higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, the bell is closing off. So you're just back there going, you know, you're turning blue and purple. You can't get anything out. Then as you go back down the scale, then the bell starts to open back up, because the bell at this point believes that that it doesn't need to be high for high notes. So over the centuries, they've come up with all kinds of, you know, what people call crazy exercises to help us figure out where the larynx is and how to change that habit so that it no longer comes up. And that's a big part of what we call natural singing. I like to say the phrase that belting good, yelling bad. Basically, what that means is when you're yelling, your larynx is high and you're choking and you're forcing out as much sound as you can. When you're belting, you're open, but you're strong, full, and you're carrying all the heavy, you know, all the aggressive emotions you want to carry in that belt. Did that cover it, or?
Yeah, bro, you'd have to tell me. I'm clueless on that. I'm learning.
It takes a lot, and you usually have to work with each individual person for them to ever figure that out. I could give you a book, I could give you videos. You could go online and you can watch videos of people's larynxes going up and down, and I mean, it's just until you feel it and actually do it, it really won't make any sense to you.
Okay. You had said something to me in a conversation. It was about nodules, and you could tell. You could listen and hear somebody might have nodules. What are you actually hearing or listening for?
As singers go through what they like to call the break, which is something we actually try to avoid. we try to make sure we don't have a break. When they go, ooh, there's no break. And my vocal cords functioned from the low note to the high note Didn't care. It was all very happy about the whole thing. But if I have a polyp or a nodule, it'll get in the way of me being able to hit the high notes, and this will happen. Ooh, ooh. And when that happens, you can't sing high anymore. The other signal that's not quite as strong but can be is laryngitis, like chronic laryngitis, like you talk like this all the time and there's nothing you can do about it no matter what you try. You just can't make your voice sound any different than this. That's the most extreme case, and that'll usually take someone into a doctor. Now, I've never had a polyp and I've never had a nodule, but Deborah did, and we got rid of it.
Okay, how did you know she had a polyp or a nodule or whatever?
Well, first of all, she'd seen a doctor, so that made it easy. But how does she know? You want to ask her?
Yeah, Deborah, how did you know before you went to the doctor?
I actually had one a long time ago from smoking, drinking, and singing at the same time back in the late 70s. So I had a feeling, because I would, like Brad said, I would start to go up and it would be like, you know. So I got nervous and I went to see a throat specialist, and he showed me the little pictures, and that's when I knew that I had to get serious about my singing and get a serious coach. So that doctor visit led me to Brad.
And everybody knows how serious I am.
Okay, Brad, now would you please explain what a vocal pre-producer is?
Okay, sure. I coined the phrase because, as far as I know, what I do is either doesn't exist or I haven't been able to find it. So let me give you a quick idea of my background and why I came up with it. I was a rock singer, blues. You know, I did the same thing Deborah was doing back in the '60s. Wasn't doing the smoking and drinking much, but you know, I was a crazy hippie guy. And at that time, I very much believed in the art of singing, and that's what turned me on when I listened to singers. But at that time, there was no such a thing as a vocal pre-producer or a vocal coach or vocal teacher that had the clue about what a rock singer needed or wanted. And they always demonstrate, even when you find one, they always demonstrate in this operatic sound. They say, you know, you go perfectly well. You say, yeah, 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 and they say, no, 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 it's all wrong. It's gonna be, yeah, 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 yeah. You know, it's like, wait a minute, I can't use.
All right, Brad cut out for me. Did he cut out for everyone else? His audio cut out.
Yep.
Okay, yep. Brad, he must be using either he has computer issues or he has Wi-Fi.
It's a full moon today, isn't it?
Huh?
Is it a full moon today?
No clue. Probably. I'm in the studio to where I don't even. I'll go out and I'll be surprised that it's daylight or nighttime. But when you guys are using Wi-Fi, that sometimes causes issues to where you'll come in and out. Okay, so Deborah, tell us some more. Like what you said he has you doing He had you doing exercises such as what?
The exercises that he had me doing are a lot to do with the tongue, and you know, and the lips, you know, all the way up and down the scale. And funny, but I was never a music student in the system. I was, you know, street musician all the way. And so I learned later on to read music, and I took music classes at college later on. So I was never trained to do these exercises ever. And once I started doing them in his way, you know, because I know everybody teaches very differently, but he called himself a therapist also, and that, what he did, actually massaged the vocal cords and just made me work here down, and then once I got working down in here, I was able to go up here and keep this down here, if that makes any sense. I can't tell you the physiological things like Brad can, but what a difference, a huge difference.
What differences have you noticed?
When I'm singing, I actually feel my larynx staying where it's supposed to be. It sounds a little wacky, and I'm also at the same time more relaxed because my larynx is being trained to stay where it needs to be. So when I'm going for that high Ann Wilson note, you know, in a heart tune, you know, I could hit it up there and keep everything in place down here and relaxed without, you know, am I going to make that note, you know, and then missing it, you know, like sometimes in the old days would happen because I'd be so nervous about getting there. I didn't know the correct way to approach it, and that's what he's teaching me.
And you said something about this stuff affecting you on stage, you not having to worry about something. What were you talking about?
Yeah, I naturally, of course, as a band leader, I'm going through 1,000 things in my head while I'm up there on stage, because I also play guitar. I play lead, I play rhythm, and I'm leading the band. So I'm trying to learn how to relax, and what he's showing me helps me to relax in this area, and I'm working on relaxing in all those other areas, you know? I know you guys know what I'm talking about, having your studios and stuff. And you're listening to a million different things and seeing things. So yeah, his exercises have helped me to perform with more confidence as well. So.
We'd be in the studio and I would hear Anna Rams. She just joined us. Latina over there in the corner. She would be doing the exercises. What you just did, Anna. Mm-hmm. Where'd you get those exercises from?
I did used to be in choir, some of high school and some of college.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you, Brad. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that, Anna. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got it from choir, from when I was in high school.
Where you were rolling your lips and stuff?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you got it off the internet.
No, actually, no.
All right, Brad, you there?
Yeah, I think so. Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Vocal pre-producer.
Right. It's a good thing that you mentioned that. I'm on a different computer, and I forgot that I hadn't hooked up the hard line, so good work. All right, so, yeah, so I finally found in the 70s, after I was pre-nodule, I think, because I was having that problem when my voice was cutting out on the high notes. And so, you know, without promoting him, because we are quite different, and I'll explain why, I went to Seth Riggs, who's a very, very famous voice coach. And at the time, and he still does if he's still teaching, he does take on, you know, pop people. He's through an opera background, through a musical theater background, but he still takes on a lot of recording people, mostly for therapy. So when I went to him, I was bound and determined to learn how to sing high, because that just was a problem of mine, and my high larynx was part of that problem. So when I worked with him, he had what I needed, but I had to modify a lot of it in order to make it work for the microphone. Let's just take a second. Why is it different for the microphone? In opera, they design the halls that opera people sing in, and in the old theater days, before they started using mic on musical theater, to resonate the voice in the room so that the people in the back could hear the singer. Otherwise, you know, it's like, well, we can't hear you, we're going to go home. So the opera people spent most of their time, and still do, developing a voice that resonates and has a lot of dB and a lot of a resonance that the room can pick up and carry the voice. Okay, so imagine now we're going to talk about, like, this is a camera. Okay, so I'm 200 feet away from the stage, maybe 400 feet away from the stage, and I don't realize that people are wearing a lot of heavy makeup because they look pretty much normal from that distance. But then if I happen to walk up on stage, or if I get invited backstage, I see all that makeup on them, and I go, oh my gosh, they don't look normal at all. Okay, so the microphone has done the same thing. Or if you take a camera, now if you take a camera and put the camera in that same actor's face, again, they look really funny, you know, they almost look like a clown. because all that extra makeup and all those extra physical movements and all those overpronounced words, all those kind of things start to sound really phony because the microphone is taking that and amplifying it and making it too dramatic, too big, too overdone. So what the microphone does is it brings my voice and your ear very close together. And what's really cool about microphones, and you hear this if you listen very carefully to some of the really great recording artists, is when they want to say something very intimate, they will go as quiet as this. I mean, they'll just, oh, yeah. Now, you try to do that on Broadway or Opera Hall, no one can hear you at all. So it's perfectly legit that opera people be the way they are and that we be the way we are. It's like apples and oranges. We shouldn't like insult each other. It's just different. So basically the way I've modified the what's called the bel canto, the natural singing that the opera people use, and I've pulled a lot of the resonance out of it, and I've pulled out all the overpronunciation, and I've pulled out the absolutely always having to be perfect, be on pitch every time, be on rhythm every time. And because I had a background in singing blues and so forth, I already had a natural feel for that. When I demonstrate, let's just say a simple song like Tears for Fears, so what is that? Anyway, welcome. So was it, welcome to your life. Well, that's the pop version. That's way too high. Welcome to, there we go. That's the pop version. I'm using a mic. Welcome to your life. So I don't over-pronunciate. I don't add a lot of vibrato. You know, I don't do all those things that classical singers do. Now, a classical singer, if I'm going to a coach and I say, I want to work on that song, and the teacher is classically taught or oriented or theatrically oriented, you're going to hear back when they tell you how to correct it. Welcome to your life. You can't use that in a mic in a recording studio. So as a technical coach for a while, I thought that was still really important, vocal technique, because we wanted to get rid of the nodules, and I did a lot of voice therapy when I was with Seth. I was his partner for a long time. I was really hooked into it. I got really intellectual about the whole thing, which I've learned over the years producers hate, and I know why. There's no feel in a singer who's in there trying to be technically perfect. So I had to, so I thought, you know, I wonder if there's anybody who teaches feel, not acting. That's a whole different thing. But feel. Is there anybody who coaches someone how to get emotionally involved in their song? I didn't find anybody. So my clients, being guinea pigs, so to speak, I started working with them on how to ignore vocal technique and put all their conscious effort into the lyric, into the story, into the song, into the emotion. And I've worked with people like Anita Baker, and the thing you notice about her and a lot of the really great emotional singers is they'll close their eyes, or even if they don't, it's kind of like they're not, even if their eyes are open, it's kind of like they're not looking at anybody, they're not looking around the room. Because inside of them, from the very time they first started singing their whole life, all they ever cared about was feeling the story. To them, that's the only reason to sing. Billie Holiday was quoted to say, if I ever sing anything twice the same time, the same way, I'm not a singer anymore. I'm a factory worker. Meaning that she should be, you know, meaning that you should feel differently about the song every time you sing it, because your life is changing, your emotions are changing. You know, how you feel that day is different than it was yesterday. So improvisation has a little bit to do with this too, and so I started coaching some of that. Yeah, wow, factory worker. I like that, Urban. Anyway, so the word voice teacher or vocal coach carries a lot of negativity in the industry because of so many singers that have lost their feel because they went to voice coaches, or never had it because they went to voice coaches. So I said, okay, I do something entirely different. I focus 80% of my time on helping the singer feel the story, and 20% when using technique to get there. Maybe sometimes it's 70-80, you know, it just depends on the singer and the situation. And that's something I wanted, MAAT wanted me to talk about today, is that all the work that's done in this kind of modality is one-on-one, and it's improvisational. So you can't use tapes, you can't use videos, you can't pass the information on that way. You have to experience it, you have to work it, you have to feel it, you have to try it. Maat's doing a great job of interpreting everything he's been learning from me, and he's come up with some very, very cool ideas on getting emotions out of singers. And one of the ways that I learned a lot of my ways of getting emotions out of singers was working with Quincy Jones and Tom Baylor and David Kahn and David Z, because that's all they care about in the studio. I don't know if you've been in the studio with this type of producer, but every time you open your mouth, if they don't like what they hear, they say, I need to feel it, man. just give me some feel. Well, unfortunately, most singers don't know how to do that, so there's a lot of frustration between the singer and the producer. So here's what I've done. I'm the guy in between. The singer is the artist. I never change that. And all I do is facilitate what they want to do and help them be better at it. I help them be better at it for the producer, for the studio, for the microphone, for live stage. In other words, the career that you and I actually want to be in. And then I work with the producer to help him get what he wants from the singer. So let's say, like on the Bangles record, I worked with 3 of the girls, an hour a day, every day of the week, five days a week. So by the time they got into the studio with David Kahn, they were very, very experienced. They knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And of course, it doesn't mean that there weren't frustrations and there weren't changes, because producers are artists and they change their mind as they go along. But it would have been much, much more difficult for the producer and for the artist to get the recording session done at the quality they got it done at and in the time frame they got it done at, if I had not been in the middle, if I had not been the facilitator. So vocal producer means I get the singer ready for the producer to do the tracking. I don't produce the
Brad, I guess we're going to have technical issues with Brad all day. I was really into that. I was paying close attention. Okay. He was talking about Billie Holiday saying she wouldn't want to repeat it again. Billie Holiday is jazz, and that's one of their things is improv. What I typed over to the side was, I want technically perfect soul, technically perfect feel. Producers, Gavin, Hugh, Ben, speak up, you guys. What do you guys think about what he's saying, or did anything tick you off so bad you want to choke him? What's cracking?
No, it actually makes sense what Brad says, and I like his method because I worked with him before recently. You want to draw that emotion, and it's like a performance. You want to capture that performance. You want that person to feel it 20 years from now when they hear that album or the record, that emotion. So you want to have technical, perfect soul, but where people can feel it. That's it for me.
Anything, Ben?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of questions for the guy. I can't wait to ask them all because he's got so many experiences with so many artists. I mean, he's kind of like at this point speaking in generalities, and I want to hear him talk about specific relationships with different artists, because I think every artist has a different psychological profile, and to get what you use with one artist is gonna backfire on the next artist. because it has to do with, a lot of it has to do with how the artist was raised in their environment, how their creativity was supported. So I find it's always it's like a changing landscape. So there's a psychological component to it. How you get the feel out of each person that you work with, it's always different.
We have this, me and Harold Haney, which I think is knocking at the door, have this thing where we laugh when somebody says lyrics have to be intellectual or you have to understand everything. There's a song by James Brown called Popcorn. If you guys ever get a chance, go listen to that. This dude is entertaining, and half the stuff he's saying, he's not going anywhere with it. It's just enjoyable. I have to run to the door. Gavin, go. And then Anna.
Well, I'm completely with Ben. I got a bunch of questions, and right now I'm just being really observant because I just grew up around singers. My mama used to sing, and different artists that I've been around, all they do is sing. So, like I said,
please,
really,
somebody hears me, please say something.
I'm trying to soak up as much as I can. So,
check.
Just pay me no mind. I'm pretty much the silent person in the room.
Okay, I'm back, guys, I think. We can hear you, Brad. Yay, we can hear you. Okay, so let me just quickly close up where I left off. So I don't interfere with what the producer or the engineers do in any way. I facilitate what they want from the artist, and same thing with the artist. I don't interfere with what the artist wants. I facilitate what the artist wants to get through the recording, and that's hence the term vocal pre-producer, or what some people call pre-production, meaning that we spend time outside of the studio, and I have a recording, what I call a pre-production studio here. I'm not into 8-track and all that. I'm just doing this for single tracking with the vocals and playing the background tracks that they bring to me, and
Oh,
am I the only one that got left in suspense? I was over here
yeah, me too.
like, oh my God, it's gonna get real.
Hey, like my mouth is open.
I was gonna say, let Anna talk now. Anna's turn.
Yeah, I just thought of a niche for myself. Maybe I could become the Google Hangout pre-producer.
Yeah, that's a good topic. He was coming with the whole pre-production process. Like, do a lot of y'all do pre-production before y'all just go in the studio, or do y'all just? I know everybody pretty much got their own techniques. I'm just curious to what other people do.
Hey, Gavin, I
in the computers.
Pre-production for me is everything.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The same thing, man.
But wait, are you talking about with the singers?
Yeah, with the singers. I mean, yeah. I've come across people that are not even knowledgeable in that type of area. Like, y'all ever come across artists that think what they laying down right then and there is pretty much it, sketched in stone? They don't want to critique. They don't want to critique. They don't want to do nothing with it.
Well, Gavin, what I noticed, a lot of times they get that from the producers that they work with. You know, because a lot of producers out here trying to get quick money. You know, they want to sell their beats, or they're mainly, you know, programmers, but they're not like producing the song. So in their mind, whatever I lay at the studio today, no, I want to work with you as long as I can before we get there and try to have that finished product be good. You know, so if it takes us a month, hey, that's cool. If we don't have a deadline, a true like budget deadline with a label or anything like that.
There's also
you want to build that creative relationship, basically.
Correct.
There's also the thing of where you go in and everybody wants to get it done fast, whether, like, say money's on the line. If money's on, like you're shaking your head, and you're right.
Oh, no. What you're saying, yeah. What you're saying is fine, yeah.
There's different reasons why people want to get stuff done fast. Some are just they don't care. But then there's a thing of, if you only have a certain amount of money for whatever reason, and you have to get in there and do stuff fast, and if you're not able to knock it out fast for whatever reason, and you're sitting there rushing, the focus is on getting it done instead of that performance. And so, I'm not even addressing the part where people go in and write. It's simply, we have, say, 2 hours to knock out this vocal, and say it takes you longer than that, even though you've practiced. Next thing you know, you're like, and somebody will say, well, you need to practice more and get better. But stuff happens. Sometimes you have a bad day, whatever, you have to stop, whatever the issue. I was listening to, there's a video, and I need to find it. One of the Pensado students posted it one time, and I've posted it several once they did. I posted it several times. This guy was talking, he's an old school producer, and he said, I forgot her name, and this is one that's, name me a soul singer whose father was Aretha Franklin. There we go. I was going to give her whole family history without remembering her name. Aretha Franklin, she was on take 139 singing. She sang it 139 times. That meant if she needed to come back the next day, she came back the next day and redid the song because they wanted a take. And so you'd have the whole band. If they can do it, if they have the patience where they'll take the whole band and make sure they have it right, make sure the singer, everybody has it right at the same time. My way of looking at it is, how dare we not come in when, like, I have Pro Tools on a laptop, Anorams. I could go and grab Anorams. If we can't spend 5 days going over this, and then 6 and 7 if we have to, and redoing it and work, doing this vocal pre-production and whatever, and doing as many takes as it takes to actually get it to where the performance moves us, not what we're trying to do with plugins or production tricks. To me, it's insulting and it's a waste of my time if that person is not willing to invest like that. And that's why I've moved toward Brad Chapman, Khalid Glover, Dave Hampton, Dave Isaac, is because of that stuff. I'm sitting here, I'm telling you, I have Pro Tools. I don't have the reality of some big studio with a big budget. I could sit here all day, and like one guy was saying, hey, I could go and record farts all day. And he was being cynical, but the reality is we can do that. So why wouldn't I sit back and work on a perfected, vocally, when I say perfected, emotionally perfected track where somebody is just nailing it. And then there's the thing of being able to nail it repeatedly. Because we get into the studio and it gets to where, like one guy was like, oh, Evan, that was a beautiful melody, stop, that's it, and oh, let's make sure we don't erase it. And I went up and I said, man, I'll erase all of that right now, because we're training to be able to do it over and over and over and over again, not just, oh, I got it once and now that's, a life or death situation. If the computer is erased and Michael Jackson's working on the track and the building burns down, I'll bet Michael can go into another studio and give the performance of his life, and come out with a hit. And that's the mentality. That's what I want to come from. What say you guys?
I mean, I asked because I just recently, honestly, had to stop working with certain people because it's like, I'm all about the process and the moment. And they was more like, we need to hurry up and put this out so we can sell it. It's like, you looking at this all wrong, player. I understand that we not financially straight, but we still got to be creative at the end of the day and actually enjoy what we doing. I mean, this is all I've pretty much done my whole life, so it's not like I have a certain level of integrity when it comes to working with other people and working on my own music. And it was like working with this particular cat, like it was like we didn't even have like the right proper equipment at the crib. Far as we needed a better microphone, he was like, why don't we just use this one? So then I'd have to go explain why we need a better mic to capture your vocals better, this, that, and the third, and the importance of pre-production. It was just a big headache, and I was just curious to see if anybody else had to go through that type of struggle. And now I work with an artist that actually understands and listens, and their curiosity is leading them in the right direction. She's even taking vocal lessons right now, even though she's a amazing singer. She knows that she can always get better. So now she's taking vocal lessons and she practices on the regular. It's like working with a whole different. It's like a breath of fresh air, really.
I had to experience the same thing about 2 months ago. What you're talking about, but it was another producer that I was working with, and basically to kind of put them on the other side of the equation. Now the project is moving along because we're not worried about getting quick money, you know, things like that, because that's not where I'm at, you know. I mean, if I have to go work at 10 different jobs to get money, I do that, but don't allow your music to be, I guess you want to say, I don't know the word, but you don't want your music to be terrible, man. I want to put out good music, so I feel you.
When I listen to Anita Baker, Ben, you're muted. When I listen to that Anita Baker Rapture album, bruh, fam, it's crazy. Or Whitney Houston's one where she sang Bodyguard, I Will Always Love You, and the stuff before that. I'm listening, and I hear a person who is not only talented, but time has been put in to somebody, or there's several people who put in time to try to make it be stellar, awesome, in all directions, all facets. See, yeah, bruh, yeah, that. Hugh has Anita Baker, the Rapture album. I've bought that several times. You just threw me off what I was about to say. I'm telling you, bro, that Michael Jackson's albums, I go back and the guys talk about old Blue Eyes. They were talking about him so much, Frank Sinatra, so I went back and listened to him. And there's just a bunch of people back in the day that I went back and I started studying, and they really cared about like who's Young's. There's a saxophone player named Young. Anybody know his name? I forget. He's a tenor sax. He plays a little bit different than other people. But whatever his name was, when I'd listen to him, his articulation, my jazz teacher would be like, my jazz history teacher would be like, you know, listen to the details of this and this. And I was like, the hell are you talking about? He's just jamming. But when I go back and I listen to his expressiveness, the emotion of what he was doing, it all came down to that. Because I've got recordings of kick butt, like you're in church with a cassette recorder, and they're jamming. The singer is just awesome, and it's a crappy recording, but you're sitting there moved, and I've even cried from some of those recordings. Then I come here and I got this Pro Tools, $200 mic, whatever, like a mic that top notch. Many people will say, oh, it's crap, and yet that microphone is way more than the microphone in that crappy little recorder, and we're creating nothing that moves people. I have all this technology, and yet when I press play, people are not moved, and then I go get this crappy cassette that was recorded at a distance, and people are moved. And so I knew something was wrong. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I had an amazing experience I'd share with you guys, and it was incredible. I have a mentor who's a multi-platinum producer that I've been doing a lot of sessions for, being an engineer and tracking vocals and stuff like that. And my first sessions with him, he was hiring a young girl hired him to produce a song. And when I went down to do the session in Los Angeles, he sent me the demo that we were going to work on, and I was confused because it sounded like a finished record. It sounded done. And so I was like, well, what are we going to do in the studio? So when I got down there to record the vocals with this artist who was a youngster, and she could sing great. I mean, she was an incredible vocalist, but the song that she was going to record was already fleshed out and was demoed out by an incredible singer that could sing better than the artist that was going to sing in the session. So by the time the session was happening, the song was just already an A+. All the girl had to do was match that performance. So we were in the studio, all the backgrounds were laid down, everything, and she just had to, you know, obviously turn the song into her own song, but it had to match the level of that demo singer, who was incredible. So that experience changed my life, because a lot of times when I work with singers that are not really happening, they got a lot of the elements, but they're not delivering the emotion or technically or whatever. I would just quickly hire another singer to come in and lay out the whole song and demo it out so they have a reference. And, you know, in the beginning they might be like, well, you know, that because they'll pay for that demo singer, it won't come out of my pocket, but they might be like, well, that's a, you know, expense, and I'll tell them I've done sessions with underdeveloped singers, and they'll spend so much money in the studio trying to get there, and they never do. And this small investment to just demo out the song with the killing singer will give them a template. So that's what I've been doing a lot for pre-production, and it works incredibly well as a producer, where if I'm dealing with underdeveloped talent, we'll just get a demo singer in there in one afternoon, just make it happen, and they'll listen to that in their car, they'll practice along to it, and then they'll come back in the studio and we'll just knock the song out.
You know what? You know what's pretty cool about that as you say that? I'm sitting here thinking of all the songs people sing that are on the radio and how they simply follow along. And so I could see where that would be a great, helpful guideline. And my only thing is that I would have to make sure that they make it theirs. Anna, go ahead, Gavin, real quick.
But no, I was gonna just say, Beyonce's "Drunken Love," they pitched it to her just like that. Like the producer for that particular track, he works closely with the artist Future. So Future demoed the record, and then they pitched it to Beyonce, and it was Future actually singing the "Drunken Love" record, and she just, you know, basically followed how he did it and turned around and did it herself. So that's definitely a way that a lot of people pitch their production to different artists, but that's something I definitely need to start doing. I just need to find me a on-point singer so I can start getting out them demos. But that's all I need to say.
I remember when I was playing drums professionally, like sometimes I would get a gig, and because some drummer would not be able to make a gig, and he was just so killing of a drummer that you know, you'd have to step in and rise to that level. And those were the gigs that I got, that I became a better musician from having the challenge of trying to emulate somebody that was way, way better than me.
Wow, Ben, I appreciate that, man. That's a good, even just a musician, producer, everything. That makes sense, definitely.
Gavin, is that the circle of fifths behind you?
Yep, it's a circle of fifths, and under it is a progress chart for the different tempos.
Bro, I was just about to say the same thing, man. I'm over here with mine right here.
Oh, yeah. I started off in orchestra, but I've been getting in the keys lately, so because, you know, everything nowadays revolves around MIDI. So with all this MIDI production, might as well, you know, brush up on piano skills. And then I got another chart that came in that mastering book. It's got all the ranges for different instruments, and it's got all the intervals and stuff like that. So,
someone was just saying that y'all hip-hop producers don't know nothing about music. That's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't start off in hip-hop, so I just look like this, man. I started off in orchestra, and I was in like I said, I was in a punk rock band, so that's where I got my start. And I was just one of them kids that was, everybody's driven by different things. I'm driven by curiosity. I want to know any and everything about any genre of music. So, like I said, I don't know what got me into hip hop, but I just eventually got into it. So
you reminded me of Miss Roger Rabbit when you said that, bro. I don't really look this way. I'm just drawn this way or something like that. I forget what it was. Before we get back to Brad, hey Anna, I've been working with Anna, and the thing about, like, when you say something and the emotion is there, when you sing it, the emotion's not there. Anna, tell them what I've had you doing.
So what MAAT's had me doing is I say like a certain phrase like, I love you and I can't get over you, and I have to say it like I'm really, well, first I say normally like, I love you and I can't get over you, and then when I sing it, somehow like you have to match the two feels of how you say it, and not just sing it.
Right, and what did I tell you when you leave here? Go and do what?
Practice, and by practicing, he means say everything singing. Like, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the bathroom, or something like. Just say everything singing.
So if she goes to McDonald's and she has to order something, may I have that Big Mac, please? She has to sing so that my idea is there's a disconnect. When she would go to sing, the emotion wouldn't be there. There was a disconnect. So if she just started singing all the time, eventually she would get over that, and it would just be it would just become to where it's just natural. Give me a glass of water, please. and she came back in, and I noticed the difference, and I was like, I'll be damned, you've changed, Anna. And there was something else, Anna, that you were practicing. Do you remember what it was when you came back? I said that you'd improved, that I could tell. Do you remember?
It was mostly that.
Okay. But like when I go, if I say, hey, Brad, I need your help, I don't need a vocal coach to tell me to say that and sound like I mean it. It's very natural. And so that's the attempt, is for me to try to get her to be very natural. So as I take what Brad's saying, I'm like, this dude is having us become ourselves. It's like that old Chinese stuff I used to learn where Brad snapping his fingers, Beyonce. But anyway, Brad, do you have audio? I see that you're back, but do you have audio? I'm not hearing any audio from you, Brad. I see you, but I don't hear any audio.
Like he watching a good football game. Look at him.
Touchdown.
Right on a sign.
Hey, Brad, the set you were doing, it worked for a while. You're like doing what we call data packets. You come on and you give us all this good data, and then you bounce off. I'd rather have that, bro, because you were actually, even though you were cutting out, you were giving us some good data. So if you could just, I mean, the way you had it, bruh, you were giving it to us. So you want to keep. I would prefer you keep doing that. We can handle it. We can sit here and converse while you reboot or whatever. Or do you want to just set it up so that you come back on next time? I mean, we're going to continue here, but if it's up to me, bro, you'd get right back on whatever you were doing, and we'd keep going, because every time you speak, you're dropping it. You know, you're doing what we call kicking knowledge in the hip hop world, spitting that game.
Hey, Ma, do you listen to a lot of Curtis Mayfield and Willie Hutch?
Yes. Willie Hutch, never heard of him.
What? Oh man, you is tripping.
He ain't from Memphis, man. He from the South. Willie Hutch.
Hey,
Okay.
I heard nobody say that. You ever watch the MAAT?
Yeah.
Willie Hutch did the whole soundtrack.
Curtis Mayfield did the whole soundtrack.
No, he did. I mean, Superfly. My bad. Was it?
Superfly.
No, Curtis did Superfly, and Willie Hutch did
Willie Hutch did.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
Curtis Mayfield did Superfly. But yeah.
Okay. Next time I talk to you, I'll know what you're talking about. Next time I talk to you, I'll be on it, bro. Don't worry.
And what about Bobby Womack?
Yeah, I love Bobby Womack.
Okay.
Bobby Womack came with the real.
You know who Willie Hutch was, so
Bobby Womack came with the real.
I mean, Willie Hutch is right there. You might well say they were cousins, bro. Like real talk.
When my father was old, we were taking care of my father. I had I put on some headphones on him. You know, we had to feed him and all that. I put some headphones on him, and they said he couldn't talk or whatever. And he goes, Bobby Womack. I was like, I thought y'all said he couldn't talk, and he was, you know, they said his brain wasn't there, all that. Nah, he said Bobby Womack, and I just started rolling. It was if you think you're lonely now, wait until tonight.
Music matters, man. Music matters.
Yeah, Willie Hutch did I Choose You. I know you remember that. They used it for the International Players Anthem.
Oh, well, you know I know that, bro. What's cracking?
Yeah, that's Willie Hutch. Yeah, that's Willie Hutch.
All right, so Deborah. Yeah, because we get off on the my stuff, and I'm off the hook. I can't take y'all down that path.
That's all right. I'm enjoying it. I used to play with Janice Johnson from A Taste of Honey. You know, the first boogie oogie, get down, boogie oogie oogie, you know? So, yeah, I dig it all. I dig it all.
Okay, so you're not Miss Prim and Proper. Like when you were younger, you were a little bit of a rebel. You were really a rocker, huh?
I was a teenage alcoholic.
Wow.
I mean, I laugh now, but it's the truth. But yeah, I'm a good girl now. You know, I got kids and stuff. But yeah, I was crazy off the hook. But let me say, for all of you who have kids and who are still kids, I was an A student. I was in college by the time I was 15 years old. So I kept up my academics, but come nighttime, well, different story, you know?
So it's work hard, play hard. Tell us about that environment and that type of stuff back then.
Oh my God, I was a child of the 60s, so I had it all. So you were talking about, you know, singers who just emote. I was drawn to all the R&B artists, but me as a white girl, when I heard Janis Joplin, I went, whoa, wait a minute, you know, this woman is singing from her gut, you know. While all my classmates in grade school were like all Osmond Brothers, I was like all Jackson 5, and then they went to Linda Ronstadt, and I was like Janis Joplin, you know. So she was a huge influence on me as a vocalist singing with feeling. And yes, she may not have used, you know, proper technique, but who knows, the way she sang, I mean, she had to be doing something right because she was able to sing all the time, you know what I'm saying? And she was not having a healthy lifestyle. So anyway, she left a huge impression on me about singing with feeling. So Brad helped me to be more relaxed, to, you know, sing with even more feeling. Because when I was singing Janis, I'd get intense, and all of a sudden, and I'd lose my voice, you know, the next day, you know. So yeah, it was crazy back then. And then through the 70s, music, you know, started losing that feeling, you know. 80s got a little worse in the 90s. Oh, there he is.
There you go, Brad. Do you remember what you were saying, Brad? Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, I was just wrapping up the concept of vocal pre-producer, just basically saying what I do is also called vocal pre-production, meaning that the whole idea is to save a lot of time, money, and to escalate exponentially the quality of the vocal performance by doing all the work before you start tracking. Because anybody who's been in the studio knows this problem, that you get there, people aren't ready, and you start rehearsing in the studio, and then there's never going to be any feel because there's no way that the brain can be rehearsing and thinking about the story at the same time. It doesn't matter whether it's the musicians or the singers. It's all about getting everything ready. Just briefly, it's been said in the industry that sometimes it takes 3 or 4 completed albums before the artists are actually even good enough to sell a record. In other words, what they're saying is that they're being trained while they're spending money on records, you know, actually recording them. Well, whether it be me or a guitar coach or whatever, if everybody is ready when you get to the studio, then it might be the first or the second album that is good enough to be sold. So that's a big savings in investment money. Okay.
Now, Ben, it looks like he stepped away, but Ben said he had a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
This is Hub Real manager. He's as I go forward, me and my team, he's going to be managing artists. So you'll be meeting him. We'll come out there. Wait, have you met him yet? Have you met Hub yet? Okay, I think so. I'm telling you, man, I have this old man thing where I'm forgetting stuff. I'll have introduced people and then introduce them again.
You know what? You guys always say stuff like that, but I have teenagers in here that they do the same thing.
Yeah, he was over there talking about write it down. And yes, my brain is full. And I noticed that when I was young, I'd be dumping so much data into my brain that I would just, it's like it can't hold enough. I just forget stuff. Matter of fact, I got married on my birthday. To make sure. I'm not going to have that issue. I am not going to have that issue. I got married 24 years ago on my birthday. I'm not going to have that issue. I'll be damned. Anyway.
You guys are too funny.
Okay, who has a question for Brad or Deborah? None of you guys have a question for Brad or Deborah? You got any questions, huh? You have any questions for Brad?
No, I just want to meet him and then also see about bringing artists with him to work with him, because I know his work is phenomenal, and they definitely need to learn in every way, shape, and form. Mentoring is huge for these artists to make progress.
I got a question.
Younger artists are not really um, doing things the way they were done in the past. So I want to try to get them in the past so that they can go forward.
Brad, if somebody wants to train with you, you know, how do they contact you so they can pay you to work with you?
Well, I posted on the my webpage on the Facebook invite, which you guys didn't all come through that way, I know. Anyway, it's just www.bradchapmanvocals.com, and or if you want to write the number down, 310-405-9162. That again was 310-405-9162. So, Matt, did you still want Deborah and I to go through what we prepared?
Yes, would you please? 310-405-9162. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, please, would you? Wait, real quick, Gavin, do you have a question before they get started?
Yeah, I had a question. Like, when you working with an artist and say the lyrics, are you trying to get the lyrics to put you in a certain place? Like, say a singer says, like she said earlier, like, I love you, but you want it to be like in the form of a conversation as if she's talking to somebody. How do you get artists creatively, like how do you get them mentally, put them in that space so they can give that type of performance? Like put them in a situational type singing.
Okay, so this is a principle-oriented question, meaning there's no one technique. It matters a lot as to who you're working with, so that you're getting feedback from them and seeing how they react to you. But basically, I don't use acting techniques very often because we don't want the singer to start being a character. We don't want them playing a character. Unless it's television or theater or something like that. But usually in the recording industry, and this is not always true, just had a long conversation with the Pensado group about Katy Perry, that Katy Perry can take on a character like she does in Friday Night, where that's very entertaining for everybody, and she's playing a teenager, but she's with the braces and the funny glasses, and she's being very much a geek, as they say. But at the same time, she can also turn around and do one of her original songs with a lot of emotion, a lot of feel, and she seems to be very connected to the lyrics. But in the case where, particularly like if they've written the song themselves, or if they're taking the song and trying to make it their own, basically you have to ask a lot of questions. Okay, so I love you. All right, so first of all, what does that mean? So let's just take you for a second. Let's just do a real quick thing with you. What does, in the context of this song that you have in your mind right now, what does I love you mean? Go ahead, Gavin.
Oh, you was asking me. Oh,
yeah.
My bad. No, I thought you were just talking. But I mean, I wish you would have used somebody else because I wasn't ready for that question. But I mean, it means what it sounds like it means. I love you.
No, and that. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Look, he was about to give me. Oh, he was about to snap on me. No.
All right, so you'd ask the artist then, you say, well, what do you mean in this context, I love you? Are you talking romance? Are you talking erotica? Are you talking love-hate? Are you talking, well, I love you but not that deeply? In other words, you find you get a lot of different answers, and that's where it all starts, is what is that particular person's reason for even singing those words? And then, after that, you ask them, well, okay, what does that feel like? And not, again, I don't bring acting techniques in where I say, okay, I want you to remember 2 years ago when you loved so-and-so and you said, I love the, no, no, no. It's got to be someone that, it's got to be in their mind real time. They're thinking of someone that they are saying, I love you too. That there's got to be a real person in their mind, not a character. And they may come back and say something like, well, I've got a great example. Colby Calais. There's a song that she wrote and sang that I can't relate to at all called Bubbly. And she seems to be trying to say that she loves this guy, but she talks about how she feels in her toes and twinkles in her nose and stuff that I can't relate. But apparently a lot of people can, and she really felt that when she sang it. I mean, it's a very, very real recording. Where so another girl might say, well, the only time I love somebody is when I'm gonna have sex. So then you've got or the guy, more likely. Then they might say, well, man, when I get turned on, I just love her. Okay, well, they got to get in that state. They're going to be turned on. One of the things that's really funny about this industry when you're talking to people, and sometimes you have to find out who you're talking to and build a form of trust with them, especially if you're talking to a woman about sexual love. You've got to build a rapport with them where you can ask very direct questions like, well, when you say you love him and it really turns you on, what do you feel that? And then she says, well, I feel real comfortable saying exactly where, but well, I feel it everywhere, and my whole body is just burning, and I've got fever, and however she wants to explain it. Then she has attached herself to that feeling. Now you say, okay, now let's sing it exactly with that feeling and exactly those words and exactly that meaning. And it's not automatic, this just takes, this is, there's a skill level that has to be accomplished. And that's why I call what I do pre-production, so that all this is done before you guys start tracking. And so, if you can't work with me or they can't afford me or whatever, and you just want to do it yourself, then again, I would suggest you do it not in the studio at this point. Get all this stuff worked out, and you will feel. If they feel it, you'll feel it too. Believe me, you'll get goosebumps, or you'll get sexually excited too, or whatever. You will feel it if they feel it. If they're not feeling it, you also will be able to say, "Hey, man, I don't feel it. You got to do it again, and we got to keep talking about this until it's actually in your body. Those feelings are in your body, so that they're coming out your mouth." There's an engineer who tells singers that remember the microphone sees everything you do. What she's trying to explain there is that every inflection, every note bend, every little thing, the human mind can perceive and put a visual to that, even without a video. And so if it's not real, if it's not there, then there's no way they could put a visual to that. But that's what Deborah and I are going to do. So why don't we do that, Deborah, and then we'll see what questions pop up after that. That way we'll have a lot of these questions answered beforehand.
Okay. So you want a song that you've never heard me sing before, correct? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah,
okay.
And I explained for the people who saw the event on Facebook that Deborah has already warmed up. She's already done exercises that I have given her. I don't recommend that people try to warm up with other people's other people's tapes or other voice teachers' warm-up tapes or apps or whatever, because they may not work for that particular singer. And if that particular singer doesn't know a lot about how to warm up anyway, then they're taking a big risk that they may not be warming up at all. They may be doing a lot of damage. Sometimes people think that warming up is going right to belting, Well, if you go right to belting, even though it may be an arpeggio, you're going, oh, you're doing stuff like that. You're not warming up. You're wearing yourself out. So then by the time you get to the singing part, your voice is blown out. So Deborah knows very well how to do that. She just had a session with me last week, and so she always has her warm-ups changing. She always knows what she should be doing, and she did that before we started. That's very critical. That's something that we decided you guys probably would want to hear or actually see the process of, because this is about emotions, not about vocal technique. But she's done it already. So yeah, Deborah's going to sing something I've never heard before. So we're doing vocal pre-production right here, right live for you all to watch and see and hear.
Okay, let me get my key here. Men I've been seeing, they got their souls up on a shelf. You know they could never love me when they can't even love themselves. And I need someone to love me, someone to really understand, who won't put themselves above me, who just love me like a man. You want
Okay,
more?
let's stop at that point. So we generally take sections at a time. I know Deborah's voice really well, so I would need to have her sing the whole song first. What you can already tell that she's very good at this, so it's going to be cool to see somebody who's already very good at it, because you know some singers are, they're very good at it. So if you're trying to help them, the only thing you can do is take them up a notch. It's not really about, well, do they have it or they don't. No, it's about we want to take this up a notch. Some people say, oh, well, they're fine the way they are, and they may be. And sometimes that's the decision you make. Man, that was perfect. Don't change it. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. And that was beautiful. Okay, but let's show them the process, Deb, and see if we can get this deeper. So what was the first couple of lyrics?
These men that I've been seeing got their souls up on a shelf.
All right. So tell us, what does that mean? The men that I've been seeing have their souls up on a shelf. What's the visual for that?
Cold-hearted, selfish.
Okay, so they're cold-hearted and they're selfish, so generally speaking, you don't like them.
Yeah, this was during my days. I used to sing this song.
So this is good. So it's mostly men here, so you can really, at least if it's on the Hangout directly, you can really lay it on us, and we'll take it.
Nothing personal, guys.
Yeah, no, we won't take it personally, but this is a common. Men sing sometimes about women like this, women sing about men like this. It's all life stories. We all can relate. And that's one of the things that makes a great song, and I really love the lyric there because it was very picturesque, meaning, I could see these men up on the shelf. So it's like, what are they doing up there? So that was why I asked the question. All right, so what does it feel like to really hate a man who's got his soul on the shelf?
I don't normally use the word hate, but usually I just like,
Okay.
Whatever. Don't need you,
Okay, so what does that feel like?
That feels like I'm pretending not to be mad.
Okay, all right, that's very honest. Way to go. But you are mad, is that right?
Right.
Okay, so all right, so this time sing that same line and feel that disassociation with your anger, but it's there.
These men that I've been seeing, they got their souls up on a shelf.
That's better. Okay, so shelf. That's the big word in this line, as far as I'm concerned. Do you agree?
I'm sorry?
Would you agree that shelf is the biggest word in this line?
Yeah.
All right. So you're accenting it pretty well. But try it again and really, really express, all of this sitting up on a shelf.
These men that I've been seeing, babe, got their souls up on a shelf.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Overcompensating?
No, it's perfect. I give.
You get it?
There was a lot of things I want you all to reflect on right now. There's a lot of body English changes in that last performance. Now, with you guys in the studio and the booth is somewhere else, which is getting more and more common these days, you won't be able to see that, and you'll have to be judging strictly by feel. But I felt it. You know, of course, I'm always biased towards my work. But let's let everybody chime in and say what did they feel. That includes you, Anna. MAAT, can you?
Else?
Yep, I'm here. Go ahead, guys. Chime in, Gavin. I know you're there. Oh, Gavin has disappeared. Nope. Come on back. And what was the question, Brad?
Well, what did everybody else feel when Deborah sang it that last time?
I like the last one.
Say that again, Hub.
I like the last one best.
Why?
I don't know, the changes she made on show, it seemed like it flowed out smoother. It was easier to feel it. And the other times it seemed like she was putting extra on the show, where the last time it seemed like it was more natural.
Okay, anybody else?
I agree with Hub. The way she said shelf drew me in more, rather than her accenting it by doing something technical. The way she said it drew me in more.
Yeah, this is the third time, right? We're talking about
Yeah.
the last time. Okay, yeah, cool. You?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. When I produce vocals, a lot of times I will have the singer just do their own interpretation of the song. A lot of times because I don't want to start tampering with getting in their psyche space and having them, try to incorporate all this information. So I would imagine that the work that you do is very important that it's outside of the studio environment, because once you're recording somebody and they're trying to integrate the information, they're trying to like sing with the condom on is the way that I kind of...
No, you're right. You're right on, Ben, and that's why I say this is pre-production.
Exactly, but this is something you would never necessarily, or you could do it in the studio if they'd give it a bunch of takes where they're just kind of expressive, and then you could try some, complementary takes with some direction, but definitely not right off the bat.
Yeah, and the way I see great producers, and I mentioned this a bit earlier, is that it really, in some respects, as far as the audience is concerned, you're more important than the artist, meaning that all the decisions you make, we either react to positively or react to negatively. So it's very important for you to be the audience when you're producing vocals and giving that feedback to the artist. So they say, oh, so I mean, if you feel like crying because of what they just sang, let them know. And they say, man, that's what it takes, man. I'm just totally moved. I'm totally taken. Well, let's say, for instance, now she goes on to the next line and you don't really feel anything. Well, let them know. Man, I didn't really feel that. We should do it again. And again, the pre-production part of this is that the artist already knows how to do what you just asked them to do. You don't try to teach it to them.
So then my next question is, then you're producing a track, and let's say you go line by line because you have to, and then you get all of these lines that have these emotions. Somehow, to me, this whole story now has been disconnected by all these punch-ins.
Well, again, I wouldn't do it like I'm doing it now. This is pre-production. If it's actual tracking or actual production, then I like to let them. This is my preference. I like to let them hear the whole, sing the whole song, and stay attached from the very first word to the very end. And then if I feel like then in theory, then you as a producer, if you felt like something wasn't there, you could either have them do the whole thing again, or you could just do that one line. It's a little bit like coaching pitch, really. except you never talk about vocal technique or pitch or flat or sharp, because like you said, you're going to put them right into rehearsal mode. And you can't do both at the same time, but you can give them an audience's sense of you know, how an audience is going to react to them, because you know, singers, we don't know. We're very insecure people because we don't really know how people are receiving what we're putting out. And
good friend. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, so if you do that for us, we walk out with a lot more confidence. We get a lot more done.
A good friend of mine, a great vocal producer. I always when I work with him, I love the way he talks to artists. But he'll always say this, and I learned this from him. He goes, "Oh, great, you got the notes. Now I want to feel it."
Yeah.
You won't let him steal that from you.
He won't say. I'm not feeling it. He won't say there's no feeling. He'll say, "Oh man, you got the phrasing and the notes perfectly. Wow. Now let me feel it."
Yeah, and I've taken that "let me feel it" one more notch up, and that is now feel it.
Oh.
Because if they don't feel it, you're not going to feel it. And if you put them in the mindset of now make me feel it or let me feel it, you're going to put their mind on an action that is outside of their own experience. I hear this all the time, even on the artists that coach on The Voice, and I think they're right on a lot of times. But you know, whenever they say, "Oh man, you know, I need to feel this, I need to feel this, I need to feel this," well, if the artist is capable of doing that, then it's going to work. But if they're not going to have any idea what they're talking about. So if you say to me, you know, "Man, okay, now everything's perfect now. Really feel it inside. Feel that story. Feel that emotion." Some people like to use the I'm in a video. You know, and I'm seeing the video. I mean, I'm living it. I'm really in the movie, so to speak, at the time. Tons of tricks, and I think you all need to find what works best for you. Not sure how that sarcasm goes across, but if it works, it works.
Hey, Brad, can I ask you a question about a specific artist that I'm working with?
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's perfect.
Okay, great. I'm starting to work with this artist from Holland, and she has a teacher that's definitely classically trained, and so she's got this powerful operatic voice. It's not working for her at all because she wants to do pop music and she wants to connect, and all the examples she's played me of artists that she wants to sound like or she is inspired by. You know, this classical teacher is just kind of leading her down the wrong direction. But I don't want to say the wrong direction, but she needs some help going in this different direction. And what I've identified right off the bat is that so she doesn't really have a developed soft voice. She's always singing full range and belting. And so when I said, let's try to sing, let's find your soft voice range, and her voice was gone in most of her soft range. She had this hoarse quality, and she only sounded good when she was belting. And so then I deduced from there that what she's been doing is gigging, you know, 3-4 times a week, and singing all these karaoke tracks that are way out of her range. So she's straining her voice night after night, and she has no voice left. So, and she does have a pretty voice. So my question is, long-winded, I know. Thank you for your patience. My question is, in trying to get her natural soft voice happening, what do I do? Well, first, I know that I'm going to get in her karaoke tracks and pitch shift them down and find a range that's appropriate for her so she doesn't damage her vocals more. But what do I do about the fact that her soft voice is obliterated, that it's raspy until she sings in a more operatic voice?
Okay, this is very intuitive of you to notice that. A lot of people don't really figure that out. And what it is kind of like, if you're an athlete, I love to use this parable because at least we can see something. And you're a sprinter, or even a long distance runner, doesn't matter. And you've been running too much, and now your ankles are all swollen up. And so now it's even hard to walk. And the only way you can kind of ignore the fact that they're swollen and just kind of push through it is to run. And so what do you need to do? You have to get rid of the swelling. Because vocal fatigue or hoarseness, as in the doctors, this is the term they use, is called acute edema. And when those cords are swollen, what happens is they won't respond to the amount of airflow that you're trying to give them by singing soft. They try to sing soft, and they're too stiff, or too tight, or too rigid to vibrate under those circumstances, and so yeah, you get this horrible sound. So two things. She either needs to find I do voice therapy if she wants. We could do that. She could try to take some vocal rest time. And then she needs to change this habit of especially previous to a recording session, of being tired all the time.
So I'm just trying to find her vocal range,
yeah.
And I can't find her vocal range because she can't sing in a soft voice, period. It's gone. So I don't... And I tell her, I think you need to rest your voice, but she's out there gigging 4 or 5 nights a week, causing more damage.
Okay, well, I think you should see an ear, nose, and throat doctor right away.
My dad is an ear, nose, and throat doctor. Maybe he'll give her a deal.
Huh?
My dad
is
an ear, nose, and throat doctor. Maybe he'll give her a deal.
Okay, does he understand how important the singing voice is to the singer?
He does, yeah.
Okay, then he's perfect. So when he looks at with a scope, he may see a variety of things. He may see a lot of swelling and a lot of red irritation. He might actually even see hemorrhaging, where he sees that some blood is actually breaking out of the vessels. He might see a polyp, which is what Deborah had, which looks kind of like a blister. Or in this case, where it's happened over time, he might even see nodules. Any one of those things, generally speaking, can be dealt with voice therapy. If not, vocal rest is one of them. And then the other end, in these situations where there's a lot of pressure on the artist, sometimes the doctor will give them steroids. Not a good idea to do on a regular basis, because that starts to tear your stomach up, and the doctor will tell her that. But that's usually what they do when somebody's on tour and they've lost it, and there's only one way to get it back, and that's steroids. I particularly like the steam room for that kind of therapy. I think it's excellent to help swelling go down. It won't help nodules or polyps, but if it's just general swelling, then it can come down by spending 20 minutes a day in a steam room. Not a shower, not an over-the-sink thing. That's convenient, but it doesn't work very well in an actual steam room. So I know the situation, and I was in it. I used to do 5-6 nights a week in a nightclub, and then try to record something on the weekend, on a Monday or something with a murder.
So the heat will reduce the swelling?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very powerful. That's what I used when I was on the road. Every time we got in a new town, the first thing I do is find a steam room.
That's really interesting, because it's almost like counterintuitive for me. I would think that if you're belting night after night after night, like, great analogy, like if you're an athlete and you injure yourself, I would think that it would be harder to belt and easier to kind of take it easy. Like, it'd be easier for an athlete to kind of walk than sprint. But in this case, she can still belt and she sounds great, but her soft voice is obliterated. So it's a little counterintuitive for me.
Well, and you may be right. Maybe that wasn't the best parable, but basically what I'm trying to say is that the chords need they need airflow in order to start vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
if they're resisting that airflow because they're really, really tight and stiff, then the singer has to increase that airflow in order to get anything to happen. And by doing that, actually, she may sound a lot better, but she really doesn't sound as good as she could if she was not in this swollen condition. And the reason she can't sing soft is because when you bring the air pressure down, vocal cords are so stiff they just won't vibrate.
That's so interesting. One more question. Sorry. When you establish a relationship with an artist and you're trying to find, let's say they bring a song that they're about to record to you, I'm imagining what you do, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is you have to identify the highest and lowest note of the song, and I'd imagine you spend time with them finding their sweet spot or their vocal range. Can you give us any tips on how to kind of determine that, and then how to determine the right key for a song for an artist?
Okay, well, let me tell you the ultimate situation first, and then we can digress from there. The ultimate situation is the key that you choose is based on what tells the story and helps the singer feel the emotions at the best possible key or tempo, for that matter. So now we're assuming that the singer has more range than they need. So if the song has an octave and a second in it, and that gives you some room to play, then you could try it lower and see how it feels. Then go up and see how it feels, go up and see how it feels. And then you can actually even push them to the point where the range is going to top out and see how it feels. And then go back down from there. In the worst situation where a singer has very limited range and their high notes sound really, really bad, which I hear all the time. I get sucked into a singer who just sounds so good in the verse. Like, wow, man, this is great. And then they go in the chorus and they go up a fifth or a sixth and squeeze in their throat and it just sounds awful. And I can't feel the emotion anymore because it's gone. So if you lower the key, that's going to really help with that. And then if the notes are too low, after you've lowered the key, then you may have to reassign some of those lower notes or reassign some of the higher notes. You may have to do some melody changes. But the key that I always try to keep in mind is what's the audience going to experience? If I put it in this key, what are they going to experience? And am I getting the optimum out of this artist? And of course, also, in my case, I can actually build their range if we have enough time by using vocal techniques. So I may say, look, let's take a month and build in a couple of new notes. But in your situation, yeah, you just kind of have to go with whatever they can do and then maximize the feel of it.
Is there a quick way that you could just give me and how to identify where somebody's falsetto range is?
Yeah, they'll crack. They'll go, oh, to the top of this falsetto.
So just do a sweep? Have them do a sweep?
Yeah, sweep will do it. You can do it chromatically, just so you can find exactly what the note is. If you do a sweep, you may not you may have to go back and go, what note was that it cracked on? Maybe you've got a great ear and you can figure that out on your own. But usually I'll use an arpeggio or a scale. But again, a lot of this really, Ben, comes down to the song because they may be able to hit C above middle C in the woman or the man's case on one word, and then you come into the second verse and they have to hit the same note, but that word they can't hit it in. And when that happens, I do what's called vowel modification to make that happen. But what you've got to do in your situation is you may have to lower the key in order to accommodate the second verse. Or you might have it flip into falsetto at that point. You can change the feel of things by instead of belting the note, going into a falsetto. But then you've got to change the arrangement, the overall emotional experience that you're trying to convey. It gets really complicated, as you know.
I just put a YouTube link up there. There was a video I found by some cat explaining how to find the sweet spot of a vocalist. When you guys get a chance, just check it out, and if it's helpful, great. If not, just let me know that it's the worst thing that's ever been posted on YouTube, at least, because I've been kind of following this guy's methodology, and it seems interesting to me.
Well, hey Deborah, let's do something with Deborah.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and mute your mic then. Deborah, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So everybody has a falsetto at some point, no matter how great their range is. So let's do the swooping for him. Let's have you go. Something like that. Okay. Just in the middle, just before she held the top note, she was starting to get into that lighter color, that falsetto is what most people call it. I just call it light head voice. Falsetto is a very confusing term for singers. The Italians came up with the phrase, and actually all it meant is that you sound false to me. And so, if a big burly guy walks up and says, "Hi there," you could accuse them of saying that's falsetto because of how weak it is, how timid it is. You know, so it's a very nebulous and subjective term. But you'll notice, you'll hear it as it changes. And one of the things that Deborah and I work on, you know, as far as her overall vocal skills, is to build it so that she has less and less falsetto going up. And then when she wants to use falsetto, it's always there. But when she wants to belt, it's always there too. So let's say we're taking her up on. You've got a keyboard there, Deb, right?
Yeah, it's not turned on though.
Or your guitar. Take a D note, and let's do it on arpeggio. And let's say, can you hear it? Play the D for me. Okay, yeah, so, now for her that's going to be an octave up. Okay, so do that, Deb. Can you now do it full voice? Right, so you see how she can do either. Now do something in between. Now, a little stronger, but not as strong as the last one. Yeah. Right, now how can she use that for feel? Well, she can decide how that word feels to her, and then she can use whichever dynamic is appropriate. So you guys, you want me to do more with Deborah, or
yes, but Nikhil. Wait, how do I say your name, bro? Because I be screwing up.
Yeah, it's Nikhil.
He had a question for you.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it was regarding this singing with feel stuff. I mean, when I say a certain part, yeah, it calls for something kind of extraordinary with the vocals, where you're kind of almost harming the vocal. Kind of Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, that kind of stuff. He's singing kind of with a weird voice, but it sounds good. Emotionally, it feels good for the song. Where's the kind of trade-off on that? Like, as in, would you, how would you approach that to not harm the vocalists?
Well, you can do damage, and then if you're smart, you can do repair. There are some people who are trying to make us believe that you can go and not hurt your voice, but I don't know any ear, nose, and throat doctors that would believe that, and I don't believe it just from experience. If it does happen emotionally, like you said, Nikhil, that does help. There's less stress if it's emotional, rather than just doing it just for the hell of it. And the voice handles it better. But if I really need to express that feeling, in a recording, then I'm going to pay for that. I'm going to have a little bit of hoarseness, a little bit of fatigue. Again, going back to the athletes, you might say, well, I had to do it to win the race, but, now I got to take 3 days off. And then there's vocal exercises they can do. There's the steam room I mentioned. There's various ways of getting your voice back. But if you're dedicated to that sound and it does in fact hurt their voice, then I don't tell you not to do it because that's ridiculous. But I can say just keep it to a minimum and pick and choose when you do it. Make sure it's important to do it, that it's not being done just for the hell of it. And then make sure that you take some time off and maybe do some vocal cool down exercises after, which again only a qualified voice technical teacher can give that kind of advice. I don't believe those CDs help anybody. Most of my students that have bought those CDs have more problems than before they bought it, because they can't decide what's right and what's wrong about that CD. They don't know what they're doing, and so they don't know what they're doing is right or wrong. So let's say that the piano on the CD is telling them to go la 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 la, and they're going la 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 la, and they don't hear that. They don't hear that they miss. And so they just keep practicing over and over, la 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 la, and they get worse. So I don't preach videos or CDs. I don't. As you'll notice, even in this hangout we're doing, I'm not really trying to teach you guys any direct things to do with anybody because it won't work. What I would give Deborah today, I wouldn't give her tomorrow. And she knows this from every week that we work. I do different things with her because her voice is always different. I don't expect you all to go through the years it took me to learn that. But the reality of it is, if the voice really matters to people, they need to not try to be saving money so much and really pay their dues. I mean, if you want a great guitar, you got to pay for it, man.
Got a second part kind of for that question. Not really second, but yeah, kind of. How far is the voice kind of stretchable and adaptable? Kind of say like when you're, say for example, taking an analogy of the guitar, it's unnatural to play the guitar at first, but the more you practice, the more natural it gets. Is there like the similar stuff with the voice? Say if you're doing this unnatural stuff, at one point it becomes natural and kind of your voice can do it perfectly without hurting yourself?
No, absolutely, Nikhil, because no singer could put across any emotion if all they were thinking about, or even a guitar player couldn't play with any feeling if all he was doing was thinking about how he was playing. So the term that's come up just recently quite often, a lot that people seem to get, is muscle memory. Now, this goes back to pre-production, and I think if you're someone who records or performs, I would call everything you do from the moment you've decided what you're going to do to the time of the show is pre-production. So when we're in pre-production, what we have to do is train the subconscious to totally be able to do everything that you've asked it to do without any conscious thought. So like when Deborah was singing, she knew all the words, she knew the melody, and so as I went into the field with her, she didn't have to think about what are the words and what are the notes, what are the melody, because she has all that muscle memory built in. And singers are the same as everybody else. The difference is we can't see the instrument, so we're at a disadvantage. And that's where a great voice teacher comes in, is they're your seeing, what I call your seeing eye dog. And they tell you, no, you didn't go la 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 la. No, you didn't do that. You went la 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 la. And when they get that feedback, then the next thing you know, maybe 2 weeks later, now they're actually doing la 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 la. Now they've got to do that enough times so that it's muscle memory, so that the conscious mind is free to work on other things. That's especially true with songs and lyrics. Not, exercise, when you're doing exercise, the whole purpose is to focus on the exercise itself. But I always tell my clients, okay, I know we're doing a vocal exercise, but don't ever forget that the whole reason we're doing this vocal exercise is to make it so you can do more feel in your song. Don't ever get caught up in thinking that vocal exercise is what this is all about, because it's not. It's all about developing an ability to express an emotion through the instrument. And then when all that becomes subconscious, there's one other quick example. Like I took tennis lessons. They're always telling me to keep my eye on the ball, eye on the ball, eye on the ball, eye on the ball. Then the next thing they're saying, okay, swing, farther back. Well, okay, my mind can't do both. Can't think about pulling the racket back and watching the ball at the same time. So I have to get pulling that racket back as muscle memory, so that I can watch that ball and see and hit it. And this is the same thing with emotions. You could say, hey man, you didn't have your eye on the ball that time. I didn't feel it. In other words, they were thinking about technique instead of emotion. Okay,
who's that?
I said, go ahead, MAAT. Let's cut out at 15 minutes from now.
Okay. You had said vowel modification. Could you tell us about that?
Sure. Okay, let's get Deb involved again. Deborah. All right, Deb. So let's take one of the high notes in one of your songs, and just sing it for us, and then we'll go from there. So this is a little bit what we call technical work. So there won't be any emotion in this. Yeah. No. You know what I'm talking about, where we have to modify a vowel in order to make it work.
I gotta clean up one more.
Okay, so you did all that perfectly. So I gotta clean. All right, so this time I want you to yell the word clean. So it's like, I gotta clean up, woman.
I gotta clean up woman.
No, yell it. Say, Claire. Do that.
I gotta clean up woman. Did I do it wrong?
I can't get her to do it wrong.
I'm sorry.
Yell the word clean for me.
Clean.
All right, now that's still. You think of a cheerleader and say, clean.
Clean.
That's better. Dead again.
Okay. I gotta clean up woman.
Got to find something different.
You don't put so much work into her trying to get her to do stuff right. She has trouble doing stuff wrong. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, that's that muscle memory we were talking about. That's the way we want it, really. The only reason I can do it is because I coach, so I'm constantly having to demonstrate the difference between right and wrong. All right, let me do it. Okay, so let's say, let's go back to that song I did earlier. Well, welcome to your life. So I yelled that, and so that word "to" actually was flat. If you hear well enough, you hear it's a perfect fit. Welcome to your life. So in the recording studio right now, you're going to tell me, hey man, you're flat. You fix that for me, and you're going to go, what do you mean I'm flat? And you say, okay, we'll do it again. And I'm going to go, welcome to your life. Well, you're just going to keep coming back and saying, well, man, it's flat. I don't know what to tell you. So what I do when they come to me is I say, all right, we need to modify that vowel from "t," which is the way it's actually coming out. Welcome to your life. Welcome to your life, which is what yelling creates. Yelling creates bad vowel shapes, and that creates a functional problem for the voice, and it doesn't know what to do. It's doing it wrong. So then I have them say, okay, instead of thinking "t" like country western, I like to think "tu," like the French, or the Irish might say, I'm going to the road. I'm going to the road. And then they go, welcome to you. And they're a little closer, but they're still not there. Welcome to you. Oh, there it is. Welcome to, wrong. Welcome to your life. Right. And of course, it takes a lot of back and forth. It depends on how bad the habits are. Like you were talking about muscle memory. sometimes the person's got a lot of muscle memory that's wrong over the years of singing wrong. I had that. It took me about 3 years to break all my habits. And so sometimes it takes longer to work out a problem like that. Sometimes it does. It depends on the person. Again, very, very individual.
Ben had brought up an issue, like when you sing all the way through, each moment is the next moment is dependent upon the last moment, and there's this feel, this contiguous thing, like it connects. And he spoke about doing the vocals in sections, and some, like, you can listen and it doesn't sound connected. And I was wanting to ask Ben, just real quick, Ben, have you came up with a way to make it to where when we're doing these vocal comps, if a singer didn't sound connected from one section to the next, did you figure out a way to get it to where that it sounded like the first moment flowed into the next moment properly? You're muted, Ben. You're muted. Turn your mic on, Ben.
Yeah, the first thing you got to make sure is the mic is on, you know, because if you're trying to make it sound continuous and the mic's off, it's not going to work. So you know, a lot of this stuff from I've experienced has a lot to do, unfortunately, with budget. And the relationship that you have with an artist and your business relationship, because there's a difference between like we were talking about before, knocking out a song, having a moderate budget to work with to make the song good, and then kind of a hit record kind of budget where you're going to do whatever it takes. So if you have the kind of relationship with an artist where they want to do whatever it takes, that's a great relationship to have, because you'll be able to get that story from beginning to end sounding great. Does that make any sense, MAAT?
Right. I was looking for something specific, like when in the session, since it sounds broken up, I would do this to make sure that these comps sound.
Exactly, and some of that. So my process, like if it's in the scope of just one session, that's harder to do. But if you have a relationship with the artist where you're going to do the song over a couple, 3 different sessions, that's going to really help to tell that story. Because what you could do is, what I do, I'll have them sing down the song 4 times. I will not interrupt them. I won't give them any feedback. I will just give them the support that they need to find their own voice in the song. I'll run them down the song 4 times, and then I'll construct a comp with those 4 takes. I'll listen really carefully and find the best little spots, and I will make a comp for them where they now have a final comp vocal all the way through that sounds great but doesn't sound contiguous. Is that the right word? Continuous?
Yes, contiguous. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound continuous, but you have these great, you know, snippets of their vocals. Now, if you give them that recording on an MP3 and you tell them to go home and practice it all week and come back in the studio, then you do something called beat the comp. So now they have to sound like the comp, but in a continuous fashion.
Okay. All right.
And if I do that in the course of 2 or 3 vocal sessions, it'll really help things out, if that makes any sense. So that's if you have that budget. And the other thing I would say, MAAT, is when you're recording vocals and you only have 1 session to knock it out, make sure, instead of punching in right on the phrase, make sure you get. Are you a Pro Tools user?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the option click?
Yes.
For the pre-roll?
I just set up a pre-roll, but go ahead.
Okay. So option click is great in Pro Tools for doing pre-roll, where you're looking at the waveform. You hold down option and you can click wherever you want to in that on that waveform, and that'll set the pre-roll instantly. So when you're recording a vocal, you can identify kind of the beginning of that section, and instead of doing the punch, a lot of singers will want to do the punch with a little pre-roll. But if you have them sing along with you know, a couple phrases before, then when they do the punch, they'll have that same intensity. They'll be matching the track. Whereas if you're just popping it in and out, you know, with a bar of pre-roll, it's never going to sound connected. The velocity, the volumes will change. It'll be a mess. So you always got to pre-roll them and have them sing along with their track to jump in.
Thanks a lot, bro. Now, Brad.
Yeah. First of all, let me welcome
Kalik.
a star who just came on, Kalik.
He'll let us know when he's ready. His picture's still up. Hey, Brad, does it ever help you to get a tape or a CD like that where if we're in a session, say Deborah, we're recording Deborah and we get this comp track, then we give it to you, or do you ever go through that process where the comp track is given to you before we go in and lay the final so that you can point out any issues? And if so, how does that help?
Yeah, that's great. And actually, the sooner you can bring me in, like even before the keys are set, at the point of the rough vocal draft, because one of the things I like to have my clients do is, even though they're doing what's called a rough vocal, so that the rest of the tracks can be done, I think the feeling should still be there in that rough vocal, so that the musicians can feel what they're playing with, rather than just hearing the melody and the words.
Right, and so, right, I absolutely feel you. I know exactly where you're coming from on that. And so, once that's laid down and there's an emotion, they get the emotion as best as they can get it, and you've helped with pre-producing. If we then give you that CD, a bounce of that, does that also help you, or are you no longer needed at that stage, or is there anything where you could help at that point before the singer goes back in for the final take?
So you're talking about, okay, they've got all the background vocals, everything's done? Yeah, oh, absolutely. If they bring me the track at that point, then we can maximize, again, how the singer is emoting with the track exactly as it is.
Because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, that would be actually good, because we do it before, we bring you in before, and get the singer to where they can do the track emotional. They get the track down and emotional according to, you know, what, like you say, hey, this is good. Then we go in there and record, and then bring that back to you. And then before they go into the next session to record it, you work with them to do, as Ben said, outdo the take or something. I forget how Ben said it. But,
Beat the comp.
Yeah. So, okay, Brad.
Well, and along that line, that's where having some time, you know, like if the artist and I get those tracks, say 2 weeks before it's time to actually do the tracking, then we'll spend a week bringing everything up to perfection, so to speak, and then we'll spend the next week just doing the same exact thing over and over and over again, so that the muscle memory is completely set for the tracking. And of course, the producer is involved in all this. You know, sending back and forth files and going, you know, and then sometimes the producers come in the studio, or if I'm doing it on a Hangout or something, they'll be there. And, you know, we'll do it as a team. I really like to think of it as a team effort. Because I don't want to be in control of this. That's not my place.
Okay, now, go ahead.
One other thing on the comping, one of the things that I've helped Deborah with, and a lot of other people, is one of the skills that the artist should have is the actual ability to bring emotion in without having to sing the whole song every time. You know, and I really liked what Ben said about, you know, going back at least, you know, maybe like a verse or maybe 2 verses. I think that's great. Might seem like a waste of time, but I don't think so. I think it's a great way to use the time. But the singer should also have that ability to refocus on the feel, even though there was a distraction of having to do punch in. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no, I was about to say, I don't see it as a waste of time at all. If it's not worth it, I don't see why we're doing the song. Yeah. So anyway, Khalid is he's going to switch computers. He's having computer problems.
Okay, well, you listen. If he's going to come on, I'll hang.
Well, you said you were about to do something with Deborah, or am I lost? Were you about to do something with Deborah again, or no?
Well, what I was saying, if you want, we could go on to the next line of the song.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so you remember where you were, Deb?
I think, but I need someone to love me when they can't even love themselves. After the shelf line.
Yeah. Right.
You want me to just start from that line after shelf?
Oh yeah. First of all, let Khalik hear how you did it the best possible way. That first section.
Men that I've been seeing, babe, got their souls up on a shelf. You know they can't even love me when they can't.
That didn't feel as good. Do that first line again.
Turn off. I had to turn the fan on here. Hang on a second.
Sorry, no, it's like, this is what I'm talking about, those skill levels where you just got to okay, on demand, I got to get right 100% into the feel of this.
The temperature's got to be right.
Yeah, it's hot here in Rochester in this little office. Men that I've been seeing, babe, got their souls up on a shelf.
Okay, what I'm not seeing now is, I'm not seeing the body English.
Men that I've been seeing, babe, got their souls up on a shelf.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so Khalik's putting something up. Comp with issues?
Computer issues.
Computer, oh, he's got computer issues. Sorry about that.
I'm telling you, man, it's a full moon. Everything's going wacky.
Don't throw away opening line. Okay.
Yeah, we see you when we saw what you were typing over to the side, Khalid. We got you.
Yeah, I was having a horrible time, Khalif, so I know where you're at. We almost didn't even get the hangout going. I was having so much trouble. Okay, so what we're doing now, if you Khalif, if you weren't here before, is we're taking. Well, the reason we're taking this a section at a time is so that I can show you all how it's done a section at a time. Because if we try to do the whole song, it's going to take a really long time. So what we're doing is, this is a song that Deborah has written.
Oh, no, this isn't one of mine.
Okay, it's not one of hers. All right, so she's interpreting.
You've heard all of mine, so I wanted to throw something in that is. This is a Chris Smithers tune.
Oh, all right, perfect. Well, you really got a good feel in there. I thought you owned that. Felt like you'd written it. Anyway, so we went through the first line, and even though Deb had very good a feel already, she's been a client of mine for a while, we upped the feel, and everybody heard it. So now we're going to do the same thing with the second line.
No.
Oh, yeah, Khalif, I was going to mention that. You're right, Khalif. The very first line, and I do tell my clients this all the time, the very first line is the most important part of the song. Because if you're not emotionally attached to the very first lyric, then we won't be either, and our minds will start to wander. We won't stay with you. So let's say maybe you get attached to the emotion 30 seconds in. Well, we might be mentally gone. So I coach that all the time, because people come in, off key and kind of half there, and I say, wait a minute. Listen to the introduction, and this is something we don't have right now, but I have them do this. I say, when you are listening to that introduction, be part of that music right away. When that first beat hits, feel it, feel what everybody's playing, feel the story in your mind, hear the first note you're going to sing. So let's say the first note is feel, then hear that in your mind before you actually sing it, so that you come in right on pitch. And if you get really good at this, you can actually hear like the whole line ahead of time. But the main point is that when you hit that first line, you're in key, you're in the mood, as they say, in the mood, anyway, as they say, and you're just knocking everybody over from the very first line. Yeah, that's excellent. Thanks for bringing that up, please. Okay, Deb, so go ahead with the second line.
Second line. No, they could never love me when they can't even love themselves.
Okay, so why we're just taking one line at a time again is just to show you guys the process in short snippets. Normally I would have her sing the whole song, and then I would decide what parts I wanted to work on after that. Okay, so tell us what that line means.
They can't even love themselves. They have no soul, no heart. So how could they love me if they don't even allow themselves to feel?
Okay, so again, that's an excellent description. Now, how does it feel to tell a man that?
Once again, it's hard for a Virgo to have emotion, but I feel like I'm covering up when I say, I don't need that. I don't want that. And inside, it's like, rejection.
Okay, all right. So you feel the feeling of rejection.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though you may try to hide it, now at least you know where it is. Well, you know what you're hiding.
There, yeah.
And by you knowing what you're hiding, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel the fact that you're a little embarrassed by it, or whatever the Virgo thing does to you. So this time, feel that line. Don't sing it. Feel it.
No, they can't even love me when they can't even love themselves.
Oh, that was great, man. I saw your jaw tighten up. You cracked a little bit on a word. Let's talk about this. If a singer cracks because of emotion, I never fight with that. I always let that go. I think that's just real human behavior. So if she said to me, "Oh, Brad, but I cracked," if she's in charge, I have to say, "Well, okay, but let me give you this advice. I really felt something when you cracked. When you didn't crack, I didn't feel anything. So how do you want to let that, how do you want to leave your audience feeling? Do you want to not hear the crack and no feel? Or do you want to have them hear the crack and be emotionally charged, by what they heard?" So that, and the other thing, like I said, there's body English that comes into this. Your jaw got really tight. Now, if I was a perfect technique teacher, I would say, "Oh, you got to let go of that jaw, man. That's tight." Well, the problem with that is that this emotion is very tight. It's not free. It's not open. It's not relaxed. It's, in fact, really, really tight. So, yeah, the jaw should clench.
Kalik, would you like me to stand?
Yeah, his mic's not working either. You'll have to type it, Kalik.
I see my face, though. You won't see my face.
Kalik was saying, how do you think she would deliver it if she was standing? I was going to read it off like after you guys were done, because you were in action doing your thing and we were watching you do your thing. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, actually, she does better when she's standing. There's more body English, especially if there's a lot of rhythm. This is another thing that I coach singers on, is that if there's rhythm in the music, their body should be feeling it and moving with it. Don't stand there like a choir singer,
I also play guitar always while I'm singing, so I'm always moving some part of my body.
Yeah, so, one of the things I run into where people are trying to change genres, or they don't, like what Ben was saying earlier about opera to pop, is that they've been taught to connect all their lines, be as smooth as possible, be very relaxed, be perfectly on pitch. The phrasing should be very smooth and in perfect rhythm. But in, let's say electronic dance music or any kind of disco dance music, most of the feeling of that is dancing. It's not the story. A lot of times is about dancing. I mean, it's about having a blast. It's having fun. It's about moving. It's about getting everybody up. And so if your body's not dancing, your voice isn't dancing either. And so I'll actually have them dance while they sing to get their voice attached to the body. So that, in other words, it's just as important that we feel like singing, like dancing from the drummer. Okay, if the drummer's doing a great job, we feel like getting up and dancing. Well, it's just important that the singer has that same feeling, so that when the singer comes in, we feel even more like dancing than for the drums. Okay, so what was the line after that?
After that, but I need someone to love me, someone to really understand.
Okay, so we're talking about need. So go ahead and sing that.
But I need someone to love me, someone to really understand.
Okay, tell me what you felt that time.
Alone. I really need that. I'm finding that I need my happiness from someone else.
I thought that was great. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And that's why I asked. You know, every once in a while somebody will surprise me and say, well, I don't know, I don't think I really felt much. And I'll go, oh, okay. There's a disconnect between me and them. Or I'll say I didn't feel it and they say they did. And that can happen too. And then when that happens, of course, we just go through a process of going back and forth.
I have
okay,
a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. This is an interesting dilemma I've had recently. I'm not a big believer in genres of music in general. I love, I know there's definite intricacies and there's a language to each genre, but I tend to think of music more as in broad strokes, like you're telling a story and the people that bring their talents to that song. It's kind of a little bit less generic for me in terms of genres. But then in producing, a lot of times I'm asked to be very defined in the genre that I'm creating, obviously, or working on. And so I know that vocally, different genres have different aesthetics that need to be implemented. Like if it's a pop country song versus a pop R&B song versus a gospel song versus a classical tune versus a rock blues tune versus a rock metal tune. I mean, it's across the range, and each genre has its own flavor, like its own recipe. As a producer, you have to understand. So what I've been having a hard time with is finding the right vocalist at times to do the right genre. Or if I'm working with an artist, a lot of times I'll have an artist that just really wants to sing R&B, but they just don't sound good singing R&B. They sound great singing a country ballad with acoustic guitar and strings. So I'm wondering, in your work, when you're working with an artist, do you try to help define what genre sounds best for them as a vocalist?
If they ask me, but there's that old saying that if they're not attached to the feel of the song, if they don't like the song, if they don't, then maybe they're great at country, but they hate country, then it's going to be hard to get a feel out of them, even though they may sing it well. So in that case, I'll just help them learn to sing. I listen to all styles of music, and I'm listening for very specific things. Like each genre has certain rules, like what notes should be actually perfectly on pitch, and what notes should be a little bit flat. What words should be perfectly on the beat, what words should be pushed or pulled. What words should be open and big, and what words should be kind of a slang or covered. There was a little talk about slang on the Pensado group just recently, and I guess there was an argument between the producer and Grande, the girl Grande, whatever her first name is. And I guess she wanted to have perfect diction for some reason, and he said no. And I don't know, it's the only detail I have, but I would say if the perfect diction did not fit that genre, then I'd have to agree with the producer that that becomes a problem. I'll tell you a quick story. A producer, I won't mention his name, sent me a girl, and her natural thing was kind of like Mick Jagger, but a female. I mean, that's what she was really good at. And that's what she wanted to do, and that's what she loved doing. Well, for whatever reason, this producer decided that she needed to have all of her pronunciation corrected, so that the P's sounded like P's, and the T's sounded like T's, and the song finished with yes. and all that kind of stuff. And I just, I mean, that's opposite of Mick Jagger about as far as you can get. So I just asked her, I said, what do you want to do? And who's paying me? I said, well, is the producer paying me or are you paying me? She said, well, I'm paying you and this is my project. I said, all right, I'm not going to fix your diction because I don't believe in it. I think for the genre you were doing, if we fixed your diction, we took all the slang out, and we corrected everything, there would no longer be that genre anymore. You'd be taking that person completely out of that genre.
So let's, Deborah, like using Deborah as an example, she sings, I don't know her range of styles or what she does, but when she sings, and she even introduced herself, she said they do kind of a blues rock thing, and when she sings, I'm like, blues rock, she's got that thing, but I don't know what her range is in terms of different genres that she can do. Deborah, do you ever feel that there's actually a different genre that you could do? That would be...
Absolutely. I love singing Italian opera. Love
Doesn't that blow your mind?
Love it. Just
Can you do some of that?
What's that?
Can you do some of that?
Let me see.
I've never heard her do it.
I could do a couple of lines because I don't have anything memorized off the cuff. Oh mio bambino caro, mi piaceva. And it goes on and on.
See, not very many people can do that. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
So you got your country blues thing, you got your Italian opera thing. Like, let me just ask you a question. Do you know who Patty Griffin is?
I've heard the name. I have heard the name, but I couldn't tell you why or where.
Okay, dude, Sarah McLachlan, do you have like a smooth kind of intimate ballady voice as well?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, the first ballady tune I ever wrote got really high marks here in an independent poll at a radio station. It was voted #1 favorite, requested, whatever. And I just recorded a song, lyrics written by Bernie Taupin, that you can find on Facebook on my page of Brad's. It's called Black on Blue. It's very sexy and sultry, and it's also getting a really nice response as well. And Brad helped us on that song as well.
Could you give us a little sexy sultry? As in, sing that, please.
Okay. Lose the color, keeps on changing. Black's no stranger late at night. Baby's in red and I'm a yellow coward. Love is a dog in the 13th hour. That's kind of off the cuff. Much better on the studio version, but.
So,
anybody else get goosebumps?
I did.
Thank you.
Brad?
That's how I know when they do it right, by the way. You know, nobody's asked me that question. Well, Brad, how do you know when they do it right? Well, if I feel it, then I know they did it right. If I don't feel it, I know they did that black and white.
So, Brad, do you ever come into a situation where you're working with an artist and they got this shtick that they're doing, this thing that's like really what they're trying to do, but you see that if they just sang it this way, that's going to connect to the audience more, but they're set on doing it this other way? How do you navigate that?
Well, that's going to be a discussion between me and the artist, where I'm going to have to find out why they're doing it the way they are. I personally don't disagree with artists saying no if it's appropriate. In other words, if somebody else comes in with an opinion that doesn't fit them and their artistry, I think it's fine for them to say no. I don't do that. I know Kevin Cronin at REO told me that once. I tried to get him to do a song just as a vocal exercise, and it wasn't his. He said, I'm not doing it. Okay, we'll do yours then. You know, I tried to convince him that the song I wanted him to do was going to help his vocal technique, but he wasn't going to have it. You know, and so that's fine. But if they are interested in moving another direction, then we can start that process. But at any time, if I feel like I'm forcing the artist to do something against their will, I'm going to pull right back because I know that's never going to have any feel. We can work on it for a year, and it's never going to have any feel.
Thank you.
It's like trying to take the spots off a leopard, you know, you just don't do that.
Well, what if what they're doing just doesn't sound good, and it's against their, even though they want to go that direction, it's just against, you know, they're spending money, they're spending time in the studio, and their product ultimately won't connect if they keep going down this path that they want to go down. Do you just let them go down that path, or at any point do you?
Well, I would say exactly what you just said. You know, that you know, if you just want to do this and if you just want to record this for yourself and sit, you know, let's do it in the car or play it at home on your own stereo, you know, let's keep going. But if you really want something that people are going to feel and they're going to buy, then this isn't going to work.
Gotcha.
And again, you put it, it's at their choice. You know, I know, like every once in a while I get a stage parent, you know, who wants me to work with their kid, and you know, the mother's saying, do this, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, and I see the poor kid just resisting everything they're doing. And I'll tell the mother right out, I'll say, look, when this child performs, no one's going to be able to feel anything from him except he doesn't want to be there, and he doesn't want to do it. That's all they're going to feel. They must have to trust you more. More than, oh, yeah, they have to trust me, right. And so if I can get that trust from the mother, then I can continue. If I can't, then I don't continue. I drop the client.
That's excellent.
Yeah, there's sometimes you just can't work with people, and it's, you know, I know when you're trying to make a living in the recording studio, and when you're trying to make a living coaching, I mean, you don't want to see that money leave the door. You know? That's a very hard thing to do, but overall, I think we're going to have a better reputation in the long run if we're not willing to put our name on things that don't work. I'll give you just a real interesting example that you guys might actually get caught in. So I'll tell you about it because it wasted my time, and it wasted David Z's time, and it's been wasting a couple other producers' time. This girl contacted us on our Facebook pages and said, I know this big record A&R guy. He's a friend of mine, and we want to do hip-hop electric dance kind of thing. And then he's going to either sign it or he's going to take it to someone else and get it signed. And in fact, this guy was a friend of hers. So, you know, I said, okay, I'll do it for less. I'm not going to do it for free because I don't get points at the end of these things. But, you know, I'll do it for what you can afford. And I started working with her, and this girl didn't have, I mean, she was a total amateur. I mean, she could sing on pitch, but the feeling was just was never there. And she was one of the ones I asked to get up and dance, and she couldn't even dance. And so David Z came in on one of our sessions on Skype, and you know, so we worked together kind of as a team, and you know, he explained what he thought she was missing, and exactly the same things I thought she was missing. So you know, I worked with her a little bit longer and tried to get more, but eventually I said to her, she said, well, I'm going to record this weekend. I said, well, I really don't think it's ready. I said, is David going to produce the vocals? And she said, no, I'm just going to go ahead and do it this weekend. I said, well, I don't think that's going to work because people who self-produce themselves rarely ever have any feel. Because they don't have an audience, you know, and they don't have anybody to guide them on what we were talking about. I feel it or I don't feel it. I think producers are critical to any good recording session. I think, it's my personal belief, and I know I'm on a soapbox about it, but every recording I've ever heard that's been self-produced, I haven't been able to feel anything from the vocals. And every one that I've heard that's been done by a great producer, I've been able to feel the vocals. Anyway, so I said, look, I'll do it if that's the case. If David's too busy or whatever, my name's on this thing, I'll do it. And she wrote back, says, oh, well, no, David said he's going to have time, and so he's going to do it. Well, he clicked on in another one of our sections, except Prince. Okay. Now there's always there's always somebody, right? There's always somebody can break the rules. Somebody's got that skill, that talent, whatever. But we're talking about what's best for most people, And sure, I think if I was working with somebody and I just found out I was getting in their way, they were so good at it themselves, I would get out of the way. If it isn't broke, man, don't fix it. That's like the worst mistake we can make. But anyway, so David came on and he said, I'm confused. You sent me a track and you said the vocals are already done on here. Do you want me to go ahead and mix this? And so I thought, what the hell's going on here? It's not even the weekend yet. So I didn't say any of this to the client. So I got offline and I called David and I said, David, are you producing this thing? He said, no. He said, I'm not producing her. He said, I'm doing some mixing for her. I said, well, she told me you're producing. He said, no, man. He said, I would never produce her. And I said, well, I've wondered. And I said, well, why would anybody take this girl on, especially for free or for any kind of a percentage thing? And so I dropped her. I wrote her and I said, you presented this to me under false pretenses, and David is not producing, and I'm pulling out. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want this girl taking a horrible recording to this big A&R guy and have my name on it. No way, no thank you. So sometimes you just got to say no. I do. So let's wrap up at 2. Anybody else who wants me to do some more with Deb?
Anybody?
Anybody want to sing?
Let me check and make sure what Kalik typed. Make sure we're not missing anything that Kalik has typed. He asked Deborah about our material. Deborah Magone .com, DeborahMagone.com, where we could go and check out her. Anna asked any Mariah Carey songs that were self-produced. Okay, anybody got anything?
Just a thank you. Thank you for doing this, guys.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
I know Kalik's typing something up. Watch.
Okay.
Anna's out. Ben, you got anything?
Well, I've been wanting to meet you, Khalif, so I appreciate you coming.
You know Kalik has those seminars, right?
Yeah.
Mixing Bootcamp Success. I have gained from those. I think they're awesome. And me personally, I mean, you're in LA. I think you'd be a perfect fit for that, Brad.
Okay.
Come in and just do your thing. I have no say in any of that. You'd have to talk to Kalik. But I've gone to 2 or 3 of them. I can't remember. And each one, there's different people that he brings. And, bruh, we grow. And we actually have a good time.
Thank you. He just pointed at me, so I guess that he's a yes on that. I'm a yes too. This spreading the word about motion and how to get it out of artists. It's almost untapped. So, and it's funny because it's the most important thing. Everybody knows it's the most important part of any recording is the feel, but ask anybody how to do it, and all they'll tell you is to feel it. So any of us that can actually bring out the feeling in somebody, whether it be a producer, whether it be a coach, or whatever, I think we really need to get the word out. I think it's great. Oh, okay, so Brad, send me your info. All right. And phone number. We'll talk. Okay, did you have any questions, Cleek, before we dropped off? No, he's good, he says, I think.
Okay, Mikhail? No questions?
Brad, do you have a question?
No, just thank you.
You're welcome.
Where are you at, bruh?
India.
In India?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
It's like 2:26 a.m.
Oh.
Serious?
Wow.
What are you doing up, bruh?
It's my lunchtime right now, actually.
Oh, wow.
I'm on a messed up schedule nowadays.
I say it like that, but I'm up at that time too. I'm tripping. I'm up at that time. Wow.
Oh, let me tell everybody who's watching this that, or couldn't watch all of it or whatever, that there'll be an archive version of this on YouTube. So just type in the name of the hangout, and you can watch the whole thing.
Awesome.
Hey, Brad. One last question for you. Can you give me a song to go listen to that you've worked on, and like an example of some of your best work, so I can go listen to?
Well, right now Deborah's one of my best right now.
Oh, great.
And Black on Blue
but
is
Anita
actually,
Baker.
sorry, Brad. Black on Blue is actually being submitted for Grammy this month.
Oh, wow.
What'd you say about Anita Baker, Brad?
Well, Anita Baker too. You know, very proud of my work
album,
on the Rapture album.
I'm sorry, that Rapture album, Anita Baker, Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Anita Baker, Rapture.
There's one other
what I'm
thing.
actually going for, huh, Brad?
There's one other thing you can find on YouTube. Find REO Speedwagon performing I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore live, I think in 1985.
I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore live, REO Speedwagon.
Live, yeah. 1985 live. And then, that was before I worked with him. Then he's been on the road forever, and he doesn't really need me anymore, and I'm proud of that too. Listen to him live doing it in 2010. And he actually sounds younger. He's in his 60s now, and I've played it for people. People think he's like 25 or in his 20s. And some people actually say he sounds younger in 2010 than he did in 1985.
Wow.
So him and I are really proud of the work that has gone on with him as well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Brad, and thank you, Matt.
And I'd love to work with you guys and crank out some great stuff, brand new stuff.
Hey, Anna, you there?
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you. Great questions.
Anna, you there?
Yeah.
I would like to get you on in 2 weeks. You think you'll be available to come on with Brad?
Yeah. I hope so. Yeah. On Sunday or Saturday, right?
Saturday at 11 a.m. 2 weeks from now, and it can't be I hope so, because I don't want to drive out there and choke you now.
All right. Definitely, I'm excited.
Colleagues from military school. I mean, not colleagues, sorry, MAAT. MAAT's from military.
You see, I just like surpassed what he said now, because I'm so used to like his silly remarks. I'm just like, oh, okay.
People watch us interact, and they really think it's an Ike and Tina Turner situation. Like really, they really think it is. Come on, y'all. I'd be in jail by now. Come on. Click says a real musician couldn't get on session without the choking. See? But no, I keep saying that because really what it comes down to is the passion. When you actually, when I'm in a studio session and I see people arguing about how something should go, I interpret that as, damn, they actually care. And so that's what it is, and you get those heated moments. Like if we care enough to have heated moments about how these vocals are done, and we're trying different stuff and arguing about them, and that is what I'd rather see than, oh yeah, that's good, let's move on. I'd rather see that. So anyway, I can't choke you right now, Anna. So sorry.
Someday on Google we'll be able to do that.
I asked Brad over there, how good is choking for vocals?
It's actually perfect because you can't hear the voice at all.
Oh, it sounds like a Renaissance opinion there. The dark ages. I got some good self-defense moves, Anna.
Okay, I need to brush up on that.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right, guys.
before we get into trouble.
Thanks again. I look forward to seeing any. I look forward to seeing any and all of you.
Say trachea shot. Wow.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, everybody. Thank you for participating. Brad, Khalik, everybody, Deborah, Nikhil, Ben, Anna. Thank you all. And Hugh, he left us already, but thanks, everybody. All right, we're out.